Bay. With your lawyer's hat on, is Vladimir Putin a war criminal?
Yes.
You will be aware of the footage we showed on ITV last night of a Palestinian man holding a white flag being shot and killed by the Israeli military. The Prime Minister today refused to say whether he thought that was a war crime. You are a very experienced lawyer. Surely that was a war crime.
Well, Robert, first I have to say I haven't seen the footage. What I don't think is wise, and this is, we're always being asked to do this, is for politicians to sit looking at clips on social media or on programmes and forming instant judgments about whether it's a breach of this law or that. That doesn't seem to be wise.
Hello everybody. So one story that dominated the news headlines yesterday, which is Monday, was the attack on a hospital in Ukraine, allegedly by Russia. We can't say that it was Russia, but that's what Ukrainians and the Ukraine's allies like USA and the UK have been alleging, that it was Russia behind it, and that resulted in the killings of about 40 people, including many children. Now, murder of innocent children, innocent people, are absolutely abhorrent. You cannot justify that, whether they are Ukrainians or whether they are Palestinians. The problem here is the double standard. Double standard by the so-called leaders of the free world, so-called leaders of the civilized world. That's the double standard we are talking about. So we saw the press conferences of the White House and the State Department in the USA yesterday, and how the majority of those replies and questions were surrounding what happened in Kiev. Also showing nimble-footedness and moving with lightning speed was our dear Prime Minister, the newly elected Prime Minister, Keir Starmer. I don't think anybody was surprised, because that nimble-footedness, that lightning speed, we had never seen in the last 9 months, when a lot more children, okay, they are not white, they are not Europeans, but nonetheless they are children, lot more children, 17,000 of them have been brutally slaughtered by Israelis in Gaza, in West Bank. And we did not see the same lightning speed with which Keir Starmer reacted, but he was quite fast and furious yesterday. He tweeted, he shared the visuals of that destruction caused by alleged Russian attack, and he said that attacking innocent children, the most depraved of actions, and he used that visuals. I went through that, prompted me to trawl through his social media timeline. And I wanted to see whether he used a similar word or even close to that sounding word when Al-Shifa hospital was taken under siege and a lot of mass graves were discovered. And I'm not saying that. Janta Ka Reporter was given the first and exclusive footage by the World Health Organization, and we ran that footage here on this channel. It was on 7th of April. Now you compare that, Mr. Keir Starmer. Not that we expected anything great from you, given your stand on justifying the Israeli siege of Gaza, the cutting off of water, electricity, food. You had justified that, right? But you wanted people to give you the benefit of the doubt that, okay, it was in the heat of moment that you could not explain yourself properly. But you had 9 months to come clean on that topic. And you said your stand had changed. The party that you were leading, its stand had changed. So you tell me that on 7th of April, when World Health Organization, a United Nations body that you all recognize, their team went to Al-Shifa hospital and found the destruction that is, you are talking about the destruction here, although as I said, you cannot justify the, attacking or targeting of any hospitals. But I want you to see the destruction caused at Al-Shifa hospital by the weeks of siege, by the way, by Israeli terrorists disguised as army, and the destruction that was caused by the so-called Russian attack on this hospital.
This is what used to be the emergency department, and as you can see, it's totally destroyed. You can see the total destruction everywhere, and the most important, there's a smell of sewage and of the rotten bodies around me.
You put saline. They were all saline. Yes. But you're right. It is there. Where the maternity department? So we are working on it, and once we have a first draft, I will share with Abdul Nasser. He can.
Here I am in what remains of the emergency room of the biggest hospital of Gaza, Al-Shifa. Unfortunately, as you can see around me, it's only the rubbles. What used to be the beds, what used to be the oxygen pipes, what used to be the rooms for doctors and for the patients. Patients used to be here to receive their first aid, but unfortunately now everything is burned. And as you can see behind me, there is nothing left of the emergency room.
Love to have that, but only program criticality one mission. And if this one for
Shifa Hospital was the core of the health system in Gaza Strip. This is what remains of Gaza Hospital now.
okay, leave it. I just end there also.
Shifa Hospital, normally, in the normal circumstances, take care of 40% of the health burden in Gaza Strip.
And what you also see here in the yard of the hospital are the graves of people who have died. Some of them have been buried, some of them are not yet even buried. So you can see here, and in many other places, you can see the bodies that are rotting under the Gazan sun. This is horrible, and this is unimaginable. This war should stop now.
In the last 3 years, WHO has invested an important amount of time, effort, and more than 5 million USD to make sure that patients, surgical patients that were coming in Shifa Hospital during mass casualty incidents would be getting proper care. We've invested in the surgical wards, we've invested in supplies, we've invested in human resources and capacity building, and now these places that used to save lives and limbs, it's all torn down to pieces. There's nothing left.
Behind me is the remains of the neonatal intensive care unit and the nursery, where very sick young children and infants were receiving their care here in Gaza.
Here.
This is the place where babies have been treated.
Yes.
Now, there's nothing.
Trying to justify this system. We're standing here where it used to be the front of the hospital, and we're in front of the emergency room behind me, where ambulances used to bring the cases. Now, all the area is destroyed in addition to the hospital, and in addition to that, the dead bodies are still underneath us. We can smell the death out while we're standing here.
فالوضع مأساوي وكارثي على الصعيد الصحي في غزة، في مدينة غزة وفي شمال غزة. فيعني احنا نطالب جميعا بالدعم القطاع الصحي في كل غزة، في كل قطاع، لكن وخصوصا في محافظة غزة وفي محافظة الشمال. You are moved by the attack on Ukrainian hospital, but you were not moved by the siege and destruction, sustained destruction over the period of weeks in Al-Shifa hospital. And that led to a lot of mass graves, war crimes. So that is a double standard we are talking about. That why had you not tweeted once using the word that most depraved of action? Now let me highlight some more double standard and hypocrisy of our new Prime Minister, who also happens to be the champion of human rights. Well, he made money and he built his career fighting human rights cases. The guy has been a fake human rights crusader. Because if he was a human rights crusader, he wouldn't have indulged in so much of hypocrisy and double standard. When ICC, International Criminal Court, launches an investigation into the allegations of war crimes against Putin, Keir Starmer welcomes it. As the opposition, as the main opposition leader in this country, he welcomes it. But when the ICC launches a similar investigation against war criminal Benjamin Netanyahu, what does he do? Does he tweet? Does he welcome? He picks up a phone after becoming the Prime Minister, speaks to him. And not even, there is no mention of Gaza. There is no mention of Gaza in the similar fashion. There is no warning to Benjamin Netanyahu. Forget about welcoming. He doesn't even advise Benjamin Netanyahu that please do not kill innocent people. He doesn't even have guts to say that. That is a bloody double standard that I'm talking about. Let's talk about one more incident. You remember when Ukraine war was at its peak, he appeared on Sky News, and he was asked by the presenter to say if what is happening in Ukraine amounted to war crimes. You know what was his answer? He wasn't vague. He wasn't, mincing words. He was absolutely emphatic to say that yes, it was a war crime.
With your lawyer's hat on, is Vladimir Putin a war criminal?
Yes.
Yes.
What I've seen already amounts to war crimes, particularly the awful attacks on civilians. And I think it's very important that he's held to account and is responsible. And all those that are acting with him know that they too will be held to account. This is something which we need to make clear now, so that those who are involved at the moment know what the consequences are. There's a gap that we've got to plug, and that is in relation to the aggression of the invasion. That is not something that at the moment can be dealt with by international tribunals, which is why I and others have suggested that we set up a tribunal to deal with this, a bit like the Nuremberg Tribunal, so that the act of aggression itself, the aggressive invasion that's going on, is itself something for which Putin and everybody who is acting with him can be held to account for.
Fast forward 2 years later, when Israel launched its genocidal campaign in Gaza, he was asked the similar question by ITV presenter Robert Peston. Robert Peston, my former BBC colleague, now works for the ITV, and by the way, he himself is a Jewish journalist. He asked this question in the wake of, you remember that famous incident that ITV had covered, that there was a father who wanted to go to safety, and he was flying the white flag so that the Israelis don't kill him. And guess what? Immediately after that, Israelis brutally killed him in front of his children. And that was captured by ITV, not Janta Ka Reporter, ITV. And that was a reference to Robert Peston's question when he asked him that whether that would amount to war crime. Now, Keir Starmer wasn't emphatic there. What he was saying is that it's not a politician's job to give judgment on whether any incident is a war crime or not. That is for the ICJ and ICC to decide.
You will be aware of the footage we showed on ITV last night of a Palestinian man holding a white flag being shot and killed by the Israeli military. The Prime Minister today refused to say whether he thought that was a war crime. You are a very experienced lawyer. Surely that was a war crime.
Well, Robert, first I have to say I haven't seen the footage yet. I've been working around the clock, haven't stopped today yet. I will, of course, see it. I've been sent the link to it, but I haven't seen it yet. But what I would say is this. We've been absolutely clear throughout this that, yes, of course, Israel has the right to self-defense, but it's got to be in accordance with international law. And they're two sides of the same coin. It's why we've said that the ICC should be in there with jurisdiction with the prosecutor gathering evidence, because there's got to be accountability under international law. What I don't think is wise, and this is, we're always being asked to do this, is for politicians to sit looking at clips on social media or on programmes and forming instant judgments about whether it's a breach of this law or that.
He wasn't saying all that when the question was about Ukraine 2 years ago. And that is a bloody double standard. I know a lot of you say that, he's married to a Jewish lady, he himself may be a Zionist and all. But that cannot be a justification to turn a blind eye to genocide. I mean, we are talking about, officially you say 40,000 people. I have been saying for last several months that the actual death figure could cross 100,000. The Lancet magazine, quite a reputed journal across the world, has now said that the actual death toll could be close to 200,000. And this Prime Minister, a so-called human rights lawyer, is not even moved. That cannot be a justification. The fact, that you're married to a Jewish lady or you yourself are a Zionist, are you saying that that then justifies the killing of, slaughtering of these many people, innocent people? As I said, what if they were whites? What if they were Europeans? Would you have remained as indifferent as you are in the case of Palestinians? These are the bloody double standards that we must never be tired of talking about. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do so, because that's one of the many ways you can support independent journalism. God bless you all.